Tribe Movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again from a beautiful natural environment, as I tend to do. All right. All right. I'm going to try to put this, this is a bit of a, I guess sort of a, not exactly a wrap-up video, as much as a catch us up to speed video, right? And we'll try to do that in a sort of contained time frame here. We're going to call this the 20-minute, I don't know, something involving 20-minute, right, as a time frame. Maybe 20-minute wrap-up, something like that. But here's what we're going to do. Let's start with, I guess, sort of a catch-up. I'm going to be assuming that most people watching this have at least watched some of my earlier videos, right? And are somewhat caught up to speed on what's been happening on the planet, right? So let's just sort of poke our heads in right where we are now. Quickly take a look at the state of affairs, so to speak. Okay, so we know the worldwide health concern that's going on right now. Okay, so I brought up, not only in my videos, but in my book, and also in my music, which has not really been released to a lot of folks right now. That's going to be changing soon. But I also speak a lot in my music about the fact that, unfortunately, some very powerful socioeconomic elite individuals, organizations operating with capital and power that is on a global level, right? And unfortunately, these individuals are of the mindset that the world population needs to be drastically decreased. Okay. That's right. World population, human beings. Drastically decreased, drastically a lot less human beings. How do we get to there? Okay. I talked about the fact that it's not even hidden, and we should not be surprised at this. Folks, many of you have heard of the Georgia Guidestones, and for those who haven't, there are huge monolithic stones down in Georgia. Off the top of my head, not exactly certain of the location again. I believe it may actually be potentially outside of Marietta, Georgia, I want to say, but I could be wrong on that. I haven't taken a look at the exact location in studying them in a while. But anyway, it is stated, printed, engraved, engraved in stone, in these huge monolithic stones that obviously had to be put there by someone. Okay, so if you're talking about monolithic stones, we're not talking about cinder blocks, folks. We're talking about huge stones weighing tons, right? It takes a lot to just move these stones about. It's not an average everyday undergoing, right? You're talking about huge machinery to do so. You're talking about potentially lanes of traffic on highways being shut down. It's a big deal, right, to put these stones in place. So we're talking about someone or organization with significant financial resources. There are, I would imagine, some, if nothing else, like zoning ordinances that need to be considered here. So, like, we're talking about, on some level, some political power, right? Just to be able to do this at their whim. Um, you know, so once again, we see that combination of money and power in play, right? Referring to the wielding of such money and power by what many refer to as the quote-unquote hidden hand, which just refers to the web of secret societies and very high-level um, organizations, uh, groups that operate above um, the normal fray of existence that most of us do, right? Money and power are not an object for these individuals. And they tend to get themselves into trouble because of that, right? Get us in trouble. Okay, so once again, back to the Georgia Guidestones. Engraved in these guidestones, in these monolithic stones, among other things, is the statement that world population needs to be reduced to and maintained at a number no greater than 500 million in order for world resources to be kept at sustainable levels. 500 million people out of a planet inhabited by, I believe now estimates are over 7.5 billion. It's a lot of folks that have to go, according to the elite individuals who put those there. Now, these comments have been echoed in very open manner by some surprise, very socially economic elite individuals like Mr. Gates, who has in various forums, sometimes in front of very huge crowds numbering in the thousands, spoke of such depopulation efforts. I myself witnessed one. I wasn't in the crowd, but I saw the video of one of these occasions where he spoke of at least 19% of the planet's population we need to decrease the planet's population by at least 19%. And his words were immediately. And this is the same individual who, if you do just a little bit of checking, is very deeply tied into a lot of sterilization programs that are happening worldwide. Has done some very peculiar things, like give millions of dollars to certain universities, I won't name, for projects to do things like attempting to find ways to block out the sun's rays on the planet, right? Particularly in specific urban areas. Whoa, think about that and the implications of it. Here is a extremely wealthy individual toying around with ways to manipulate and control the amount of sunlight that you're able to get, if not eliminate the amount of sunlight to specific geographic areas. Come on, folks. Come on, folks. You got to not be all right with this stuff. All right. So, I specifically wanted to touch on that just to show you the mind state of the folks that we're talking about, right? And these efforts are not just for one specific group of people, not one specific race. Folks, if about 7 billion people got to go, guess what? That's not just people who look like me, right? That's not any particular group, but that's a lot of us, if not all of us, except for those who would fit into that small group of socioeconomic elite. If you're a millionaire, got a really nice house, nice cars, you know, some other trinkets and toys and whatnot, guess what? I'm not really talking to you. You are actually, though wealthy, not the quote-unquote elite, right? The people we're talking about have resources so vast that money is something they don't even think. But we're talking about the people that print the money, folks. This fiat money that we shouldn't really be using in the fashion and capacity that we are now. But anyway, just so we understand who we're talking about. Now, we also, as I stated, need to understand their mindset that many of us need to go. Most of us, in fact. Okay? This is not me being paranoid. This is not me coming up with some conspiracy theory. Folks, if they're at a point where they can feel comfortable just saying it right from their lips, and they can engrave it in stone and sit it in a huge monolithic stone in front of your face like an instructionary tablet, and we still can't grasp it, that's where these folks, the folks who have the most money and power in this world, the most influence, if you cannot accept, if anyone cannot accept that unfortunately these folks do not have your best interests at heart, you might as well turn this video off right now. Because that's the cold hard facts, right? And the reality is that we've allowed these people to get into this position. Now, what are they doing to bring all this to fruition? We've had a lot of discussions about some of these things, like chemtrails, right? Anybody who's seriously taking a look at chemtrails, it obviously does not buy the absurd explanation given that it's like ice on the wings of planes, and absurd little, you know, explanations given like that, right? Those who have taken this serious know that numerous environmentalist organizations have actually studied what is falling down from these chemtrails to our plants, animals, waterways, etc. And they found that they're filled with soft metals like zinc and mercury. They're filled with all sorts of toxins and harmful chemicals like barium. They're filled with various forms of calcium sort of multi-carbons or carbonates, right? They're filled with calcification agents is a better term, right? This is not something that we should just be taking lightly, given the fact that these things have been sprayed over just about the planet, right? I've been in wealthy neighborhoods, I've been in black, white neighborhoods, I've been in multiracial neighborhoods. They're doing it to everyone. People, we gotta wake up. Stop being distracted by these petty differences and separations like race, right? The very thing they're trying to inspire you to have essentially a race war now to keep you completely distracted to these things. Don't fall for it. Wake up. Everyone, this concerns you, okay? They're spraying this stuff right over your head. I mean, at a certain point, it's almost like, you know, if you're at all conscious or aware, you can't have something like that happening and just say, oh, okay, right? Okay, so back to these efforts. Um, you also find, so I find that there's one very common thing that's being released, so to speak, or I guess covertly administered to people, right? I've already talked about how it's being done through the air with these chemtrails. It's also being done through the water, right? Um, we talked about how a lot of this stuff falls on our waterways, but how much do we really know or pay attention to what happens at our treatment plants, right? And some of the chemicals that are being added there. I think the ones atrazine or something like that, that is a chemical that causes hormonal imbalances that brings about homosexuality, if not other things. This is not an attack against homosexuals. Please do not take it that way. That does not take away the fact that these chemicals are being put in use. So if there is some rise between homosexuality and some connection between a rise in homosexuality and these chemicals, that's just a fact that we need to process and look at the motives of those who put these chemicals out there. Um, I'm not saying anything one way or the other about individuals who are homosexual, to be clear on that. Um, so there's a lot being put in the water. We already know about lead and some of the other things. We're also finding, surprise, once again, a lot of calcification agents in our water, right? Go to your average grocery store. Flip over the ingredients on just about any product you can pick up. Literally, I'm not even exaggerating. Just about any product you'll pick up in your average grocery store, not pointing any fingers, but one of the grocery stores, I'm not even have to name the grocery store, right? Any grocery store, a common product, pick up a loaf of bread, right? Should be a healthy, basic product that you can take home to your family, should be wholesome and good and healthy for your family, your growing children, right? Read the ingredients, folks, on a loaf of bread. Read the ingredients. Why do you need a chemistry set in your bread? And if you take a look, once again, you find the same combination of harmful chemicals and, of course, these calcification agents. So, common theme is the calcification agents, right? Why? Why so much time, effort, money, political power, influence being exerted to spread these calcification agents? Well, folks, that's because everyone, um, though we do differ, um, not just necessarily from race or ethnic background or whatnot, but we do differ somewhat, but we all have a pineal gland. We differ in the level of which that pineal gland is calcified and the level of which it's active, from individual to individual, let alone from race to race, right? But the fact is we all have one. And apparently, these socioeconomic elite individuals want you to keep your pineal gland, or really should be correctly referred to as your pineal organ. They want that to be a calcified, useless, dead organ. Why? Okay, this gets back into the potential of what human beings actually are. Now, we tie all this quickly up, maybe not so quickly, with the fact that, again, there's a lot of secrecy and, in fact, secret societies involved in the execution of these plans, so to speak. Um, and we find that there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of secrecy behind the actual potential, the hidden potential of human beings, which we should all, as a subject, I find very curious that we don't really and haven't been exploring so much more. How many of us, I know I have, and anyone who went to Penn Hill Senior High School with me and paid a little bit of attention knows that we were constantly talked to and told about in health class and other studies, biology and whatnot, about the potential of human beings, or at least how we're only utilizing small percentages of our mental, physical, and other inner abilities, right? Um, why is that? That's something that we didn't and haven't been exploring as a society, as a civilization, is a little baffling to me, because if we actually work on enhancing ourselves naturally, rather than what we see being the common theme of these socioeconomic elite individuals, which is more so to merge us with some form of technology to improve us, if we had and would invest our time and efforts on enhancing ourselves and evolving naturally, right, by eating properly, by connecting ourselves with the planet energetically. And yes, we are electromagnetic beings, or beings that function in an electromagnetic field that we put out, right, that needs to be very healthy and managed. Um, if we are doing that, if we're eating properly, and you literally are what you eat, folks, peace starts on your plate. Um, if we are eating properly, if we are taking in the correct things, if we are avoiding all these calcification agents as best we possibly can, right? If we're avoiding all these toxins as best we possibly can, um, and if we go through some very interesting spiritual progressions, right? Things that do some research, if you haven't already, folks, into Kundalini awakening, right? You are made up of energy, right? You are an energetic being. The more of that energy, and specifically the more of your spiritual energy, you are able to incorporate into your physical existence, the more vibrant, healthy, powerful, impactful human being you can be, right? And apparently that's not something that the socioeconomically elite individuals want to see. Um, why would that be? Because such individuals are simply not easy to control. Um, uh, they can know, and the whole paradigm as it is currently would change. And these individuals who are enjoying their status of being socially economic elite would go away, right? We would, just to give you a practical example of what that looks like, the fossil fuel industry that generates trillions upon trillions of dollars each and every year. One of the vast arms that funds these socio-economic elite individuals, just like the military industrial complex, right? Just like the incredibly vast and powerful pharmaceutical industries, right? And on and on and on. Um, but yeah, if we really take a closer look at this, we see that we are not so easily indoctrinated, controlled, manipulated uh, once we are our best selves, right? Physically, mentally, spiritually, or energetically, however you want to put that. And that Kundalini awakening is a process of us freeing more of our spiritual energy to interface our our essence, right? To interface with our physical body.